Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back, and today we're going to do One Piece chapter 1062 review. Let's get into it. So the title of this chapter, Adventure in the Land of Science. So we start off with the cover page, and it's actually in Chocolate Town, and looks like everything there is frozen. So it is kind of confirmed that the Blackbeard pirates must have pulled up on Whole Cake Island, and it seems like Aokiji must be there. And maybe it's Aokiji and another person. This is definitely in reference to that previous cover page where we just saw like kind of the silhouettes of people. So we thought it was Germa at that time, but I believe it was actually Aokiji and another member of the Blackbeard Pirates that just pulled up on Chocolate Town and just froze everybody. And I don't know what they're looking for at Whole Cake Island, but they're looking for something. So getting into the chapter, we go back to the ship where the giant mech suit is still holding up the entire ship. So Franky, Sanji, and Usopp are just drooling over this giant mech suit, and maybe Sanji is actually drooling over Lilith here, right? And I really believe that this must be some kind of foreshadowing for Franky, since Usopp even mentions how much bigger that mech robot is than General Franky, right? And so going back to Franky's bounty poster that we learned about a few chapters back, we look at kind of the bounty poster, and all the bounty poster is the Sunny. And I think what that is foreshadowing is that Franky is going to transform the Sunny into some kind of giant mech robot. And I think that would be really sick and cool if he can kind of pick up the blueprints from Egghead Island and kind of incorporate that into the Sunny. I think that would be absolutely awesome. Right off the bat, Robin notices that, Vegapunk should be a man, not a woman, right? And Lilith has to end up clarifying that she is not actually the stellar body of Vegapunk, that she is actually 02 Vegapunk Lilith, right? And this Lilith is actually an evil version of Vegapunk, as we'll get into later. And Lilith ends up continuing to threaten the Straw Hats to kind of cough up all their treasure, and she actually ends up pulling out these giant weaponized sea beasts. And these sea beasts are just huge. They're way bigger than the ship, and they all look like cyborgs, and they're numbered at different numbers. But all of a sudden, Lilith gets a call from, it seems to be like another Vegapunk, and this Vegapunk is actually explaining to her how dangerous this Straw Hat crew is, as she's clearly overlooked them and underestimated them. Finally, I think we get some respect on the Straw Hats name, as we've kind of seen where even though the Straw Hats are a Yonko crew, they're not getting the same respect as a usual Yonko crew does, right? We saw that Green Bull was disrespecting them and being like, I'm afraid of Kaido, but I'm not afraid of the Straw Hats. We finally get some respect on our name, and this Vegapunk ends up calling out like, hey, Zoro and Robin could take you out in an instant right now. They're very calm, and they could just be like, Robin could use her clutch and just snap her body in half, or Zoro could just slice her in half from all the way over there. Like, put some respect on our name, you know what I'm saying? This is a Yonko crew, we ain't messing around. And something interesting here, Zoro actually mentions that he wants something from Vegapunk, and I was kind of questioning what this could be, and kind of the first things I thought of is like, okay, does Zoro want like a Seraphim version of Kuina to kind of bring her back? Could it be where Zoro wants a devil fruit sword, right? Does he want a devil fruit added to one of his swords? That would be pretty interesting. I think that would really change what Zoro's perspective is. I don't know if I'd like that either, so I don't know if I want him to do that. And I think the last part where Zoro what he could possibly want from Vegapunk is maybe fix the people in Wano, right? Fix the people who drank the water from the Smile Fruits. They're kind of screwed up, so maybe Vegapunk can sort of give them some kind of medication or something to give them back their emotions. Since Vegapunk knows all the details of these devil fruits, maybe he can figure that out. We then move back to Egghead Island with Luffy and the gang. We see that the island is clearly climate controlled, as we now see palm trees. We then get to like Bonnie saying that she actually has been to Egghead Island as a kid. And Bonnie really wants answers about how Vegapunk turned her dad into a cyborg. And now it's confirmed Kuma is her father, and Vegapunk is definitely responsible for turning Kuma into a cyborg. So now we're going to kind of get into the details of, okay, why did Vegapunk actually turn Kuma into a cyborg, and was he willingly doing this, or was it kind of against his will? It was really funny to see the contrast between Luffy and Jinbei's reaction, where Luffy's like, oh man, that's awesome, he's a cyborg, right? And Jinbei's like, oh my god, that's awful, like he stripped his humanity away from him, right? And sadly, Bonnie quickly mentions that she did run into Sabo, but doesn't give us any information on what happened in Mary Joa, and I get that might have taken away from kind of the awe of this chapter of all the cool tech that Vegapunk has worked on, but I think Oda should get to this sooner or later, and I hope he gets to it sooner than later. So first thing I kind of thought of when I was seeing all this crazy tech is that there's a lot of relationships to like alien technology, rocket ships, robots, things like this. So I wonder if Vegapunk has a lot of interaction with the moons and things like this, as we've been talking about a lot of celestial bodies throughout this chapter. Next, we meet our next Vegapunk, which is Vegapunk Atlas, which is the representation of Wrath. Atlas actually tells us about the island and that it was a winter island and it's actually in tropical mode right now. It seems that Atlas came up with this invention where it's the island aircon, and this aircon is able to regulate the temperature of the area down to the soil. So it's a really, really powerful technology where it's able to regulate the entire temperature of the entire island. Luffy then tries attacking Wrath, thinking that it's a hologram. However, it actually makes contact, and then Wrath bangs Luffy right in the face. It was a similar hit to like Sea Stone or something like this, is like kind of the only comparison I can make to something that's hit Luffy like this. And then Luffy ends up hitting this machine that can actually make 500 unique dishes in under a minute. And Atlas then goes on to explain that this technology is really hard to mass produce since there's no competent engineers that know how to follow these blueprints and figure out this technology. And so I wonder if Franky is going to be able to figure out this technology and hopefully mass produce this for all the people in the world, since Luffy, one of his main parts of his dream is to make sure that everyone has enough to eat and everyone can eat, right? So that was a big part of his dream that he discussed throughout Wano. Then Atlas goes on and ends up fighting this monster because it looks like it was just pissed at this monster, and it uses these photonic gloves to interact with light. So kind of my first ideas I thought of is that kind of in the final battle, I wonder if Sanji or someone else on the crew will end up fighting Kizaru with this technology, because technically you don't need Haki if you have this technology, right? You can fight photons, right? So you could definitely fight light, and like kind of the first thing I thought of was like, okay, what happens if you fight Kizaru with this technology? Even though like Atlas reveals himself or herself as Vegapunk, Bonnie kind of sees right through this, as she's met Vegapunk in the past as a child, right? Or at least seen him before. After this, we go back to the New World where we're meeting up with CP0, and CP0 is actually discussing how Vegapunk has split himself up into 6 people, right? So this was obviously similar to the Paths of Pain, and everyone has been talking about that. But another thing I kind of remembered from Naruto is that it's similar to Naruto's cloning jutsu, since each clone takes on a different personality, right? And these 6 satellites are also Vegapunk, right? So kind of the breakdown of it is there's one main Vegapunk, the stellar body of Vegapunk, and who knows if that body is in good condition, even conscious, who knows, right? We're gonna find out a little bit later. But so there should still be a main Vegapunk, but these other Vegapunks, so 01 is Logic, Shaka, like we were talking earlier, and Shaka is related to like a Virgo constellation or the original name of Buddha. The 02 is Lilith, and she's related to evil. And some other relations are that Lilith also means like a dark moon, and it means like kind of a feminine power, so that's why she's a woman. The 03 is Flare, and that's Edison, and obviously it's the inventor, and it also references a crater on the moon. And 04 is Wisdom Pythagoras, which is obviously the great mathematician, and is also a crater on the moon. Then we go to 05, which is Wrath Atlas, and it's like the Titan with a lot of strength, but it's also could be a constellation in the sky, right? And then the last one is 06 Desire, which is Yoke, and Yoke is another word for Mesopotamia, and it could also be in reference to a constellation again, right? And so looks like all these 6 paths of Vegapunk are in relation to some kind of cosmic entity. So it's very interesting, right? It's like almost like the planets, right? Because they refer to them as like 6 satellites of Vegapunk. So it's almost like, okay, there's the stellar body, right? The star, and then there's all the planets that are going around the star. So CP0 also talks about how their mission is to bring back the problem child Kuma, and this is the Kuma Seraphim. So this must have been one of the earlier Seraphims, since obviously the Pacifistas are based off of Kuma already. So this must have been one of the first Seraphims that they created, and seems to be a problem, meaning that maybe Vegapunk couldn't get out all of the free will out of this cyborg versus the other Seraphims. And obviously we don't even know that for the other Seraphims as well, right? Looks like those Seraphims also have some type of free will. And the next part of their goal is also to eliminate all the Vegapunks while maintaining all the technology, right? So they need to preserve the lab, preserve all the tech in the lab, but they want to get rid of Vegapunk. And Lucci actually ends up questioning this entire thing. He's just like, yo, why would we kill the most useful man in the world, right? Vegapunk has created all the technology that has helped the world government kind of be where it's at right now. And it's crazy that they're getting rid of this dude now, right? So I think potentially the main Vegapunk, or maybe all the Vegapunks, could end up fleeing with the Straw Hats, or at least we take one of them, right? Maybe we take one of them and we end up fleeing Egghead Island with the Vegapunks. And it was interesting to see that Lucci now actually kind of has a conscience and is questioning the reasoning behind the world government's motives. Whereas before he was more of like kind of a soldier, he was just an assassin, and whatever you told him to do, he would just do it and follow the order, right? And it's cool to see that after the defeat from Luffy and after that crazy epic battle, Lucci has actually like changed his whole perspective on the world. And Stussy and Kaku just end up telling him like, dude, why are you questioning the world government now? Like, you of all people should know, don't question them, right? Just follow your orders, right? But overall, I think this was like kind of a crazy chapter. We learned like so much information. I hope next chapter we actually figure out something about Sabo, what happened there, or maybe we figure out about the devil fruits, right? So I think a lot of information is still gonna come throughout these chapters going ahead, and I can't wait for the rematch between Luffy and Lucci, and just seeing maybe now Lucci is an awakened Zoan and Luffy's also an awakened Zoan, so it's gonna be awesome to see that battle, see that rematch now. So I'm super excited for that. Let me know what you guys thought of this chapter down in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.